Hello, everybody. Anthony Aniano here from RotoBaller Radio and RotoBaller.com with Boom Plays for your championship weekend matchups. Two games on the slate. As we know, 4 teams in action on Sunday. Ravens and the Chiefs, the Lions and the 49ers, both playing for the right to represent their conference in the Super Bowl. So what I'm looking at today is one player from each team who has the ability to give you a DFS boom in your lineup for a good price. I guess it would be a boom or bust type of player. And we'll start with the Baltimore Ravens and Odell Beckham Jr. Priced on DraftKings at $4,600. On the RotoBaller lineup optimizer, his projection, low end 7.26, high end projection at 14.76. My firm belief is the Kansas City Chiefs win this game against the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens, in order to keep up with Mahomes, I do believe will throw the ball. Mark Andrews will be back, opens things up a little bit for the wide receivers. Kansas City's number one concern at the wide receiver will be Zay Flowers. Opens it up for Odell. Now, Odell's not a 10-catch guy, hasn't been all year, but he has had the opportunity to get in the end zone a couple of times this season. He was a non-factor last week. I get it. Kansas City's only allowing 203 passing yards per game over their last 3. Buffalo was able to move the ball on him. Khalil Shakur had a nice game against them as Kansas City focused on shutting down Stephon Diggs. That second wide receiver of Buffalo was able to put up points. I'm thinking the same thing. Shut down Zay Flowers. Worry about Mark Andrews. Leaves more opportunities for Odell Beckham Jr. Kansas City has allowed 11 wide receiver touchdowns on the season of their 19 passing touchdowns allowed. And Odell, like we mentioned, at 4,600 this week on DraftKings. For the Kansas City Chiefs, staying at the wide receiver position, and actually staying at wide receiver throughout the broadcast here, throughout the video, simply because that's where the value seems to be lying. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 3,400. Now, we know what Valdes-Scantling is, right? He's that boom or bust guy. He's that big play guy, and he showed it last week. 4 targets, 2 catches, 62 yards, average of 31 yards per catch. The key for Scantling is, does he turn one of those 30, 40-yarders into a touchdown? Kansas City has been looking for a second wide receiver opposite Rashee Rice all season. Travis Kelce is playing in the postseason like the Travis Kelce we expect. If he's dominating in the middle, if Rashee Rice is gobbling up targets, it opens up the deep game for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Another player who I don't expect to give you 10 receptions, not Valdes-Scantling's game. But Patrick Mahomes will take a shot or two deep with 2 MVS, and that's where he pays off. If he's averaging 30 yards per catch, gives you that third catch and gets into the end zone, he's worth $3,400 on DraftKings. Ravens have allowed 18 passing touchdowns on the season, 12 of them to opposing wide receivers. Now, on the Sunday late game in the NFC, the Detroit Lions and Josh Reynolds of the Lions, wide receiver, Detroit Lions against San Francisco. 4,000 on DraftKings. RotoBaller projections have him between 7.85 on the low end and a very nice 19.04 on the high end of their projections, according to those RotoBaller lineup optimizers. In 2 playoff games so far this season, Josh Reynolds has been targeted 10 times, 7 catches, 107 yards, and the touchdown last week. A total of 23.7 fantasy points in two playoff games. He's hit double digits each of the first 2 rounds of the postseason, establishing himself really as the number 2 wide receiver, not saying second to option, but number 2 wide receiver in that Lions offense. Now, we know how the Lions offense goes. Gibbs, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, Laporta. Those are the big 4. There's no denying that. There's no surprises there. So that leaves Josh Reynolds as the boom or bust play, as that 5th option. If he's getting 5 targets a game, getting a look in the red zone against San Francisco. San Francisco's allowed 20 passing touchdowns this season, 16 of them to opposing wide receivers. And on the year, they allowed 34 PPR points per game to opposing wide receivers. And finally, the San Francisco 49er boom or bust play at a value price If Deebo Samuel is out, and it's a big if, but if Deebo Samuel does not play, take a look at Juwan Jennings of the San Francisco 49ers against that Detroit secondary. The worst pass defense of the 4 teams remaining this week. Juwan Jennings sits at 4,600. He and Odell are the highest priced players on my boom or bust list here this week. RotoBaller has him projected between 6.91 and 8.59. If Deebo is out, that 8.59 does increase in my opinion. Last week, Juwan Jennings was targeted 6 times by Brock Purdy. 5 catches, 61 yards, just over 11 fantasy points. Going against the Detroit secondary, that's over the last 3 games, is averaging 345 passing yards allowed per game. It's a fantastic opportunity for Brock Purdy and the 49er passing attack. On the season, Detroit's allowed 256.9 passing yards per game. They've allowed 22 touchdowns to the wide receiver position of their 28 passing touchdowns allowed. So to recap, 4 players, 4 boom or bust players for the championship round of the NFL playoffs for your DFS lineups: from the Baltimore Ravens, Odell Beckham Jr., from the Kansas City Chiefs, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, from the Detroit Lions, Josh Reynolds, and from the San Francisco 49ers, Juwan Jennings. Folks, don't forget, head over to RotoBaller.com right now. Check out all of that lineup optimizer that I was talking about. Sign up for the Premium Pass. Use the promotional code ACES to see that lineup optimizer to guide you through the rest of your fantasy basketball season. And the Major League Baseball draft kit is now available. Draft guides for baseball rankings, you name it, for your fantasy baseball league. So sign up with that Premium Pass. Use the promo code ACES and save at checkout. Like and subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel, and give me a follow on Twitter at Aniano Fantasy. Good luck this week, and we'll see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.